Here's to Main Street, not Wall Street. Here's to being invested in each other. Here's to a return to what matters. Elevations Credit Union. It matters where you bank. Visit us online to see why.
Good morning, everyone. This is awesome. All these empty chairs over here, they've all got this all figured out already. Isn't that cool? Is that what it is? Just by a show of hands, I want to ask you, is there something you could do personally, just you, in your life, in the next couple of weeks to make it worse? Just by a show of hands. Worse. we got a two-hander over here. On that same note, is there something you think you could do personally to make it better? Go skiing? That's right, the ski slopes opened, didn't they? Do you believe that choice is yours? Do your choices affect other people? They affect relationships as well? Sometimes good, sometimes bad. What you just described was that you have hope. That's pretty important, isn't it? Isn't hope what makes us get up in the mornings? The hope we're going to have a great day. The hope that we're going to be making more money next year. There's a lot of things that we do every day that affect how our day goes. Do you think attitude has any effect on some of the choices you make, good or bad, on a daily basis? Can I get a consensus here? How many of you believe that with a great attitude, you can do anything in life? Anybody believe that? Get some buy-in on that one? That's not true. I have a great attitude. I'm a positive guy. I've got a pleasant smile and a greeting for most people that I meet. But for the life of me, I can't seem to break 80 on the golf course. I don't know what the deal is with that. Even though I have a great attitude. There's several things we're going to talk about today to help us actually understand and drill down what it takes to create balance in our lives. First thing we have to figure out is, do we have some goals set for ourselves? How many of you have a written goals program that you look at daily? We got one liar over here. It's kind of important to have those goals set, isn't it? Something else we're going to be looking at here is managing the use of our time. Is that an issue for anybody in here? Do we seem like we're running out of time? It's tough, isn't it? We hear a lot of people talk about time management. Can you really manage time? What can you manage? Just yourself. Is that an issue for realtors in particular? You work some really weird hours, don't you? We're also going to take a look and try and examine what really goes into creating balance in our life and what's important for us. Let me get some feedback here. When I say success, what does success mean to you? What does success mean to you? Yeah, it's different for everybody. Health, that's kind of important. Without our health, we don't really have anything, do we? Anybody else? What does success mean? What's that mean to you? Okay. Let's drill down a little bit. So I have a lot of money. What does that mean? I guess we could always say, so what? You have a lot of money. What does that do for us? Do you have enough money? Yeah, it's one of those things. How much money does it take to make us happy? Just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. When we start talking about success, there are things that money will buy. I've got a sleep number bed. Does anybody have a sleep number bed? Those are awesome, aren't they? I travel a lot, and I hate that because I never go to a hotel that has a sleep number bed. And I can buy a nice bed, and they're kind of expensive and pricey, but it doesn't buy you a good night's sleep, does it? A lot of money will buy you a nice house. Doesn't buy you a home, though, does it? I was always curious, too. If Barbie is so cool, how come you got to go buy her friends? You can buy friends, can't you? I watched a movie once, and they were talking about how he was a multimillionaire. And they wondered, how do you know if they're really your friends or they really just like you because of your money? And his response wasn't, I thought this was plastic. He said, don't ever feel sorry for someone who owns a plane. I can agree with that. So we're going to talk about success. We're also going to be looking at what it takes to put all this in balance. And when we have our life in balance, things seem to go much easier, don't they? Hope, attitude, expectations. There's a couple ladies once in a movie who went up to Alaska. And one said it was the most beautiful place she'd ever seen in her life. She was amazed at the wonder that God had created. And her friend said that she hated it. She didn't like anything about Alaska. She was so disappointed. You know what the difference was between the two? Attitude. Expectations. The one had no expectations. And so when she got there, she enjoyed the journey. And everything was wonderful. And the other one had expectations. And they didn't meet her expectations. Do we have expectations for ourselves? Yes? Do you have expectations of other people? Is that when you get yourself in trouble? Yeah, about the point in time where you start trying to count on other people for your happiness and balance in your life, that's when it all seems to fall apart. You know, the most important things that we hear every single day are the things that we say to ourselves. Anybody in here talk to themselves? Probably talked to yourself on the way over here when somebody cut you off, didn't you? Now we're really starting to drill down here. Kind of exciting. So a written goals program, once again, who's got a written goals program? You don't have to look at it every day. Do you feel as if it helps? Yeah? Why do you suppose people don't set goals? Do you have any idea? Let's take a look at this up here. How many squares do you see up there? 16, you're right. Anybody else? 17. Oh. I'll wait. I thought I would stay in the theme. How many? You're close. You're an overachiever. 25. Give you another moment here to look at it. Well, you've got the big one, right? Then you've got 16 here, so that's 17, right? Then we've got 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, and 28. 28 squares up there. When we casually glance at it, though, it looks like 16. That's a reasonable number. There's absolutely 16 up there. Definitely 17 once we looked at it a little closer. The point being, with something like this, a casual glance is never quite as good as an in-depth look. And so what we're going to try and do today is take an in-depth look at our lives right now and find out what's holding us back. Anybody feel like their life is out of control sometimes? Spiraling downward? It's a tough situation to be in. And a lot of that's because we just don't have enough time. Yet we all have the same amount of time. We have 24 hours every single day. It's what we do with that time. Talk to me a little bit about what are some of your time wasters. What do you waste time on? Email, Facebook. My wife happens to be a cyber stalker on Facebook. Any of those in here? Yeah, I got a lot of nods now. What do you waste time on? I like the way you think. Cleaning house. She likes to procrastinate on that. My wife and I have a totally different view of what cleaning the house actually looks like. For some reason, she needs to tear it up and then start over again. What do you waste time on? You like talk on the phone? Yeah. Who said emails? Emails is a big one, isn't it? How many of you work out of your home? A lot of you? Do you do your work in, like, your pajamas? I got one back here. I'm nodding yes. When you work out of your home, that's tough to do, isn't it? You need to get up, get a shower, brush your teeth, get your hair ready to go, and get dressed as if you were leaving. And you can get a lot more done that way. A lot of time wasters. You open up your emails, you start checking them, all of a sudden there's a funny one, you want to start forwarding it off to people. And pretty soon you turn around and look, it's been 2 hours, I haven't done anything. Nothing at all. A lot of time wasters in our lives. So we're going to be looking at putting some goals together. We're going to be looking at managing our time, and then we're going to be addressing what really goes into creating balance in your life and perhaps redefining what's really important and what success means to us. So let's take a look here. Now I broke it. Setting some goals. These are the 4 reasons people don't set goals. And somebody said it back here. Fear. Fear is nothing more than what we call false evidence that appears real. Guys in general, I don't know about women. My wife goes to the doctor. Guys don't go to the doctor. I don't need bad news. And a lot of times, there's not even bad news awaiting us, but what we can imagine generally is much worse. When we say fear, what would be fearful about setting some goals? Anybody? What would hold us back from setting goals? What do you think? Failure? Fear of failure? Accountability? You know, for a lot of people, that's a dirty word. We don't like to be held accountable. Especially when you work for yourself. You're all independent contractors, right? You may work for a firm, but you're the boss. You can always decide to give yourself a raise or not. You start setting some goals, and then you start sharing it. There's 2 types of goals out there. There's what we call go-up goals. These are things as maybe you want to be the #1 realtor here in Colorado next year. That's a go-up goal, isn't it? Can you think of any others? Go-up goals are something that you might want to be careful as to who you actually share these with. There's another type of goal, too. It's a give-up goal. There was a gentleman once, and actually I've got a comrade who just came back from Vegas. I don't know if he saw the sign or not, but he took out a billboard. And on the billboard it said, if you catch me smoking, I'll pay you $100,000. He left his contact information and his name on there. He wanted to give up smoking. Do you think anybody caught him smoking? No. He shouted that out to the world, and he let them know. That's a give-up goal. The go-up goals, though, once again, if you want to be the #1 realtor in Colorado next year, you might want to be careful who you share that with, because there's a lot of other people that perhaps want to do that as well, and they'll try to drag you down. But sharing goals and achieving them and being held accountable, quite fearful. Let's take a look at the next reason. People don't always have a great self-image, do they? Dr. Joyce Brothers said that you cannot consistently perform at a level that's inconsistent with how you see yourself. I'll say that again. That's important. You cannot consistently perform at a level that's inconsistent with how you see yourself. Do you see yourself as being wildly successful? Can you see yourself driving a Lamborghini? Anybody? I have one. Can you see yourself making $3 million a year? These are visions that people a lot of times cannot put together because they have that self-image. I can see how you could do it, or you could do it, or you could do it, but I'm not sure I could ever accomplish that. Next reason. Nobody's ever sold them on why they should have a goals program. People who have a goals program and actually work it make so much more money than those of us that don't. Goals are very, very important. Don't know how. Have no idea how to put a goals program together, so we're going to look at that. Hope everybody's got some paper and something to write on. I'm going to take some notes here. So let's get started on it. General goals procedure chart. Number 1 thing would be to identify your goals. Has anybody actually ever done that? I got to tell you, I had a goals program when I first started off. Can anybody remember what the first thing they sold in life was? Back when you were a teenager? They sold rainbow vacuum cleaners. Anybody sell any of those? Yeah, there's one here. Everybody remembers those. I had been in the business for about 2 months. I was like 19 years old. I had just got married right out of high school. Been in the business about 2 months, and my boss came up to me one day. He goes, Matt, I'm not sure you're going to make it in this business. You just don't seem to have what it takes. And so for the next several months, I went about trying to prove him right. And I'm not saying that I didn't sell anything, because I did. I had to sell some of our furniture. I had a really cool record collection. I had to sell some of that stuff off. It's just one of those things. And finally he came up and he goes, we're going to let you go. It just isn't working out. And I thought, well, okay. I'm young. That's all right. I'm going to start a goals program. So I got out a sheet of paper and I started my bucket list. And I started writing. I was going crazy on this thing. I'm going to climb Mount Everest. I'm going to meet a president one day. I'm going to travel to Washington. I'm going to go to Europe. I mean, I'm writing like crazy. This was pretty cool. By the time I was done, I had like 102 things on my list. I was so excited. And I went up and I looked at my wife, and we hadn't been married very long. And I said, you look at this. Look at all these things we're going to do. I got all these things on this list, and we're going to do every single one of them. And she looked at me and she goes, why don't you get a job? And I thought I hadn't thought of that, so I wrote that on there, and I had 103 things on my list. It was so cool. To this day, I've accomplished about 75 of them. But it's a goals program. So you got to identify your goals. So this is what I want everybody to do for a minute, okay? I want you to take out a sheet of paper, and I want you to write 3 things across the top. I want you to write be. I want you to write do. And I want you to write have. Be, do, have. It'll make more sense in a moment. What that really means is you have to be the right kind of person. You got to do the right kind of things in order to have everything that life has to offer you. So I'd like you to take just a moment. This is really nothing to sneeze at. These goals programs are important. I want you to take just a moment. Everything that you want to be, and everything you'd like to do, and everything you'd like to have, I want you to take about 5 minutes and write these down on this piece of paper. And we're going to identify a few goals real quick. Tell you a story while we're working on this. I recently flew in on a plane from Tampa. I guess the only reason I mention that is because that's usually how I fly, is on a plane. But I was at the airport, and I was looking at this guy that was standing up at the counter, and people were just dumping on him. They were blaming him for everything, from the economy to the gas prices to the hot weather to the bugs down there in Florida. I mean, they were dumping on him for everything. And this guy had the worst look on his face. Well, it was my turn to walk up to the counter and get ready to check in. I told you I'm a pretty positive guy, and I looked at him and I said, how you doing? His response to me was, compared to who? We've met people like this, haven't we? And I said, well, how about compared to that guy who's out there on the sidewalk, sitting in his wheelchair with his little tin cup out, asking for spare change? I said, how about the individual who doesn't have a job? How about the mother and father who just got some bad news about one of their children? I said, how are you doing? And you could see his demeanor changed almost immediately. And he said, well, when you put it like that, I guess I'm doing pretty good. So I went back and I sat down. I couldn't help notice that as he was going about his job then, he was greeting people a little nicer. He had a smile on his face now. People were responding a little bit nicer to him as well. And I didn't mention this, but he gave me an upgrade to first class, which is a pretty good deal for not really doing anything. He had a pretty good attitude at that point in time, but my question to all of you would be, did I really teach him anything about how to do his job better or how to relate to people? What did I do for this guy? Just gave him a different way to look at life, didn't I? Change that. With that improved attitude, do you think there was a good possibility he's probably going to keep that job? More than likely. Do you think there's a good possibility he may even get a promotion with this great attitude? Do you think that great attitude remained the same 6 months down the road? Maybe, I would hope so, but probably not. See, it really doesn't matter how we approach life, because you can have a great attitude and then all of a sudden life gets in the way. Things happen. If you don't have a written goals program and something comes up, it may just be the excuse you need to say, I didn't want to do this anyhow. I didn't think I could do it now, and I don't have to, because something got in the way. But if you write these goals down and then you start sharing with people, like you said, now you're accountable, right? Big difference. Anybody run out of things to write about the be-do have? You still got your pencil going? For a lot of us, we've never even thought about things like this. You got to identify your goals first. Write down some of the benefits of reaching these goals. What do I get out of this? We have to understand that if it's not really our goal, we're probably not going to follow through with it. It's got to be your goal. And what are the benefits if you reach it? I've had several comments here talking about, well, I would like to make more money. That's my idea of success. I don't know what that means. If you have more money, do you get to travel? Okay, so you got to travel. If you travel, what does that mean? You get to spend more time with your family. You get to spend more time with your family and you're not under the gun for work all the time. What does that mean? Do you have better relationships? Dr. Dean Cornish said that the number one reason that people go into therapy is because of their relationships. Number one, almost 100% of the time, it's a relationship either with a coworker, family member, spouse. Relationships will tear us up. So if you can get your relationships together, that'll change your life. So the benefits of me reaching this goal. How about some obstacles? Wouldn't that be nice to identify the obstacles right up front so that we knew going in, this may be a possibility, and then when it shows up, that's okay, we can move past it. Make sure we stay on track to get these goals done. Skills, or the knowledge required. Anybody here want a new car? Anybody? What kind of car? Q3, why? Why? What will that do for you? And if you feel good, then what? A lot of times they go in and they go, so what? So you get this, so what? And if you can get to the bottom of where you can't ask that question anymore, so what? You're getting really close to why you're doing things. So the skills or knowledge required. People and resources that might be able to help you. Any of you ever been walking down a dirt road and saw a turtle up on top of a fence post? No? Well, if you ever do, that's weird, but this is my point. He didn't get up there by himself. He had some help. And that's exactly what that means. People and resources that can help you achieve this. And a plan of action. Goals are just dreams until we get started. Anonymously said somewhere in the past that even if you happen to be on the right track and you don't keep moving forward, you might get hit by the train coming up behind you. So you want to make sure, even though you're on a path to success and you've got some goals written down, you keep on moving and check them off the list. And this is the one where most of us drop the ball. A completion date. I'll ask you, you want a Q3, when do you want this by? Spring. Get specific and put an actual date down on it. We've all heard when we start talking about goals programs, SMART goals. Specific, meaningful, attainable, realistic. And then there's a time frame on it as well. Very, very similar. And people don't put time frames down on it. It's not enough just to say, I want this, or I want that, or I want to accomplish this in my life. When do you want to have this happen? And then hold yourself accountable and share it with people. Those are the go-up goals. talk about managing your time a little bit. Has anybody ever seen this chart before? Talked a little bit about time wasters. I think the number one is because of what we have in front of us right now is the computer. Down the left side, what you have here is your interest level, and across the top would be the skill set required. Canfield wrote a book called The Power of Focus. Anybody read it? Can't tell you who else wrote it. I wasn't focused when I was looking at it. The Power of Focus, in a nutshell, what that book talks about is how you should find 3 or 4 things that you can do effortlessly. And everything else, you should probably delegate. Are there a lot of things that we do on a daily basis that, number one, we either don't like to do or we're no good at? And therefore, they either don't get done well or they don't get done in a timely manner. So I want you to talk and think about this for a moment. As we go through this, this is how you use this chart. Take a 2-week period and write down everything that you do. That's tough to do for a lot of people, isn't it? Spend time writing down what we do on a daily basis. Take about 2 weeks and do that. Next thing we'll look at is rank these tasks with 2 criteria. Number 1 would be interest. Number 2 being your skill level. Then you just take and you populate this grid with your findings. On the bottom left, you look low interest, takes very little skill level. On the top right, you have a high interest, a very high skill level. 2 or 3 things that you do effortlessly every single day, and this is where you spend your time and focus. Bottom left, these are things you want to delegate to other people. And on the top right, this is right in your wheelhouse. These are the things that if you spend your time focusing on the things you do really, really well and you like doing, you'll be wildly successful. The way our public school system works today, they give you 5 or 6 different subjects that you study. And if you're no good at, say, math or you're no good at English, they give you a tutor and they spend extra time doing math and English. So at the very best, the outcome that they achieve is you become very mediocre at these things. Do I have anybody that would admit they are okay with being mediocre as a real estate agent? Anybody want to admit that? No, you don't want to do that. Focus on the things you do really well. Once again, when you look at this grid, bottom left, that's what you delegate. Top right, that's your wheelhouse right there. Invest some more time on yourself and spend less of it. It'll make a big difference in how you approach life and what your outlook is. Anybody make lists in here? You have more than one way to make a list? How many of you use sticky notes? You use sticky notes all over your office and house? How many have calendars that they write on? How many have more than one calendar that they write on? How many have calendars with multiple locations that they write on? It's kind of tough to keep track of that stuff, isn't it? Number one thing you can do to actually start managing your time is prioritize and eliminate. Prioritize and eliminate. And these things down on the bottom left that you don't like to do or you're really not that good at, these are the things you want to eliminate out of your day. When you make lists, I'm okay with that, I make lists too. What's the difference in being efficient and being effective? Anybody know? The difference in being efficient and being effective. No takers? You just used the word in the definition. You can't do that. Efficient and effective, if you make a list and you have a list of 10 things that you're planning on getting done today, what would the top 3 be? Would those be the most important or the least important? Most important, okay? This is how most people approach their lists. The top 3 things are the most important things you probably want to get done that day, but they're also going to be the most difficult. And so we start at the bottom, we start working our way up. And you knock off 6 or 7 things in a day, and you go, wow, look at this. I was very efficient today because I got 7 things of my 10 done. Where in reality, let me just give you a really good example. Let's say you got to wake up in the morning, and when you get into the office, you got to kiss a frog. There's no choice. You have to do this. My point being that you might as well just get it out of the way, because the longer the day goes on, that frog's not getting any prettier. The things we don't want to take care of are the ones that are most difficult. If you were to take the top 3 things off your list, this would be more effective for you. But we work the opposite direction. If you were going to make a list, when would you make that list? Would you make it just before you go to bed so you don't forget anything? Would you do it first thing in the morning? When would you do it? Sometimes in the middle of the night. Okay, I don't sleep that well either. I can go with that. Throughout the day, you would make the list throughout the day. Okay, prioritize and then reevaluate your list as you go. Let me offer you a suggestion, and the experts have done a lot of studies on this. When you get home at the end of your day, say it's 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock at night, I want you to take and do your list right then that you have to get done tomorrow. What that does for you is it frees up your mind. It's been written down. You don't have to think about it anymore. Then you can enjoy time with your family. You can sit down and watch TV. You can do whatever it is you want to do. You do it as soon as you get home. And then you can let it go. The next day you get up, you got your list in front of you. You take that list and work your way through it, starting at the top, because these are the most important things. And then at the end of that day, do you add to that list, or what do you do with it? Throw it away. Start over again. You'd be amazed at what it does to actually free up your mind. And if you can do that at the end of your day and don't wait until the evening, because I know a lot of people that go home and they're thinking about work the whole time. I got to do this, I got to do that. I'm behind on this schedule, I'm not hitting my projections. And they think about it all night long, and then we get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and we make our list. Can't do it that way. I guess you can. Physically, you could do it that way. Try it though. Make your list as soon as you get home and let it go. And spend some time with your family. These are the things we want to keep in focus when we're looking at, is our life really in balance? I'd like to everybody just take a piece of paper, and if you can draw this wheel real quick, and I give you a moment. These are things that we look at in our life every day. You've got your personal life, your family life, your business, your physical health, your mental stability, your spiritual life. What I'd like you to be able to do is, if you look all the way in the middle here, that's a 1. All the way out in the end is 10. 10 being really good, 1 being not so good. I'd like you to take and just put a little dot where you feel you are in your life in these specific areas right now today. There's probably some other things we could all add on to this. It's a pretty good start, though. This will also help you when you get back and you start looking over some of these notes, is to your be, do, and have list. These are a lot of things that we don't think about. Everybody got it? Let's take a look here. Just go ahead and connect those dots, if you would. You all good? I want you to envision for just a moment. This is the wheel on your car. How's the ride? Pretty rough. Has anybody got this perfectly in balance all the way around? So you got a smooth ride? No? There's some areas that we all like to work on. I'll tell you a simple method to actually bring this all in balance. All you have to do is take everything and bring it right to the middle and make them all ones. That'd balance it out, wouldn't it? It's an easy way to do it, but the only problem with that is you never become a big wheel if you do that. You want to reach for the tens all the way outside. That's when you know you've got it going on. If you're having a bad day at home, does that affect your ability to do a great job at work? Yeah. Financially, if you're struggling, do you become desperate? Does that come across sometimes in a pitch that you do? It does, doesn't it? Desperate salespeople don't do very well, do they? Has anybody been in that situation as a realtor where you've been working with the client, you're working with them, and working with them 6 months, and then all of a sudden their cousin gets into the business? That happen to anybody? How frustrating is that? And of course you know they're going to buy the house from their cousin, right? That affects you mentally with the next people you talk to, doesn't it? This is a tough life that we've got and that we've chosen to do. We all understand what the hoppers are. What do you all really sell here? What are you selling? Anybody? You're selling yourself, right? It's got to be important for you know what you're selling and what your clients are buying. They could realistically buy a house from just about anybody, couldn't they? True? But at the same point in time, you really are selling yourself. They're buying from you. Are most buying decisions logical? No? What are they? They're emotional. You've got to appeal to their emotions. And if you don't have all of this in balance, it affects everything that you do. Start prioritizing and eliminating and understand what's really important in life. And the number one thing that's really important in life, of course, is our relationships. And so when you can start focusing on that, it brings everything into perspective. A final thought for us. What's really important? These are the things that everybody wants. Happiness. Is there a difference in happiness and joyfulness? What's the difference? Which one is deeper? Happiness or joy? We all agree with that as a joy? You know why I know this to be a fact? Because McDonald's has happy meals. They don't have joyful meals. That wasn't very deep, was it? Joy is something much, much deeper in our lives that allows us to move forward. Happiness is very fleeting quite often for us. So happiness, everybody wants to be happy. What about health? We talked about that. Health is just huge for us. Without your health, there's not a whole lot else that really matters, is there? Reasonable prosperity. We talked a little bit about that. How much does it take to make us happy? We don't really want to have to worry about things. That's reasonable prosperity. We've all been in that situation. I've had money, I've not had money. Overall, I can honestly tell you I'd rather have money. And it's not everything. It is reasonably close to oxygen, though. When you need it, there just aren't many substitutes out there for money. So reasonably prosperous. Everybody wants security. Do you feel as if you have job security? I was just listening to a seminar just before we walked in here next door, and he was talking about security and how firms are always calling you up, trying to get you to come on board. Does that happen to us here? They want you to come work with them? Is the grass really greener on the other side of the fence? I've not found it to be. Actually, when you get on the other side of the fence and you get a little closer look, it's got some weeds in it too. But they're always trying to do that. So we're always trying to find something in our lives that makes us a little happier, a little more secure. How about friends? Are friends important to us? How many of you in here have 5 really good friends that you could tell anything to and they wouldn't judge you? Anybody got 10? Sitting right here, right? 10? Does anybody have 10 friends they could talk to? That's awesome. You do? that you could tell anything to. That's amazing. That makes for a very happy life. People you can actually talk to that understand you and don't judge you. For a lot of us, we just don't have that many friends. I've been married now for 72 years. Well, it's 36 each. It's 36 happiest years of my wife's life. You can ask her too. We got married really young. And she's my best friend. And I've got some other friends too, but she's absolutely my best friend. And I can tell her anything. These are the people you want to confide to because it's really strange and quiet and lonely inside your own head. Sometimes you got to get out of yourself and talk to other people. That'll change your life as well. How about this one? Family. Family's huge. We don't get to choose our families, though, do we? Unfortunately, sometimes. Am I the only one that has a dysfunctional family? Yeah, I knew I'd get a reaction from that. There's only two things that happen in your life with family or friends. You either say, I'm glad I did, or I wish I had. That's all you get at the end of the day. So if you have some relationships that you probably need to mend, those are the two choices you have. I'm glad I did, or I wish I had. That's all you got. Nothing else there. So take the opportunity if you need to mend some relationships and just let it go. Any of us know any self-centered people? You know the kind of people I'm talking about look like they got weaned on a pickle? Little sourpuss. Self-centered people are never happy when they're always thinking about themselves. I've never met a self-centered individual that was happy. Is anybody out there know one like that? When are we the happiest in life? It's when you're helping other people, right? That's why you all got in this business, wasn't it? Because it's a joy to work and help other people achieve their dreams in life too. And that's still a huge American dream, isn't it? People to own their own home. Absolutely. How about that one? What does peace of mind mean to us? A lot of things we've talked about today all go right into that. Peace of mind. Helping you let it go. Moving past it. Anybody know how they catch monkeys in Africa? I was thinking that was random. Anybody know how they do that? It's real simple. They take a bird cage, and they've got the door in the bird cage, and they take it and they put a banana, and they hang it from the inside of the cage. And the monkey comes along, and he reaches his hand in the door, and he grabs onto the banana. And then he just holds it. And he never lets it go. And he can't get his hand back out of the cage because the banana's there, and it won't fit through the door. And there he sits until the trappers come along, and there's the monkey just sitting there. Got to hold this banana. And they put a little collar on him, and he's trapped. Is that not what happens to a lot of us in life? We got our hand around something, and we refuse to let it go. And we just will not move on. If we would just let go of the banana, we could get on with our lives. And it would create that peace of mind that we're all looking for. And hope for the future. Once again, hope is exactly the reason we get up every day. If you had no hope whatsoever of ever selling a house, would you make a phone call? Not going to happen, is it? What about the high school student who's running a 35 average in math? Do you think he's going to study for that final in math? Has no hope whatsoever of ever passing that test. Hope's very important in life. It's not actually a strategy, but it's very important. Hope for the future. Once again, that's the exact reason that every single one of us get up every day, because we hope today, tomorrow, the next year is all going to be better for us. And we've gone over several things, obviously, that are going to be important. Set some goals for yourself. Figure out where your time wasters are and start managing your time and investing a little more of that in yourself. And then understanding what's really important in life. As much as a lot of us would like to think it's about us, it's really not. It can't be about you and create happiness. These are those self-centered people again. So start focusing outward. There's a lot of things in life that you can't get back unless you give them away. Can you think of anything? You can't get it back unless you give it away first. Well, smile. You ever smile at somebody and they didn't smile back at you? Just move on, right?
No, I smile bigger.
You smile bigger. Okay, try that. What else? Love. These are all the things, once again, that money won't buy for you. Like I said, I've had money, I've not had money. I like having money better. But once again, you've got these things that we have to understand. Money will buy. New car, new house, nice bed, and the things money won't buy. And those are the things that are really important in life. And once you focus on those, that's when you start creating balance in your life. Is financial independence a goal of anybody in here? Have a definition for financial independence? More than I need? Well, it's where work is optional and leisure is affordable. That's financial independence. So start looking at how do we create that. Set some goals, figure out your time, understand what's really important in your life, and you'll start finding a way to create balance in your life as well. With that, it's a wrap. We're going to get out here a couple minutes early. You guys have been awesome. Thank you very much. If you'd like to contact me later, come up, drop me a business card. I'll send you some information if you want a copy of this. I have some cards up here as well.